I'm either going to be delightful or a huge, awful, wet blanket. I'll let you decide. Dashboards are not a strategy. This has been a wonderful conference to be at today, and it's a space where largely in my consulting practice I do not work. We work at the ground level with people who actually have to put analytics into practice for their business's sake, and that's what I want to talk with you about today. Web Analytics Demystified is a three-person partnership. We have been called the McKinsey of digital measurement and optimization, and we take that as a compliment. My partner Adam Greco in the back of the room, and John Lovett, former Forrester analyst. We do end-to-end strategy for digital measurement, analysis, and optimization. I won't bore you with the details. WebAnalyticsDemystified.com is the URL. Some of our clients, we are fortunate to work with some of the greatest brands working in the business today and helping them out in what we believe to be a really big way. As was also mentioned, a couple of years ago, friends goaded me into getting into Twitter, and I said I can't do anything that I cannot measure. I went out and tried a couple of the services. Sorry. I know you can hear me in the back of the room because my 7-year-old says, "Dad, you're loud." I was goaded into using Twitter. I said I cannot use something that I cannot measure. I tried a couple of the available measurement services. I was not satisfied with their scoring me as a 99.7% because I knew I sucked at Twitter. So I built Twitterlizer. 2.5 years later, we were just published in New York Times Magazine. The print piece will be out on Sunday, and of course what happens then is your traffic spikes well beyond the capacity of your servers. So if you go to Twitterlizer right now, and it is down, it is because the infrastructure guys are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, well, I calmly present to you here at the Stanford campus. So dashboards are not a strategy. It's story time. Start with a story, because stories are fun, and in my practice, what we do is not analyze data, it is telling stories with data. So, once upon a time, there was a young woman, and she was the web analytics manager for one of the most recognized brands in the entire world. She thought to herself one day, gosh, we're really not getting traction with our use of web analytics inside the organization. We have lots of dashboards, we have lots of reports, we have people, but we don't have a strategy. And she said to herself, aha, I know what I will do. I will call the Demystifier. That was me. She called me up and she said, we'd like to talk about our strategy. And I said, sure. So in I flew, and I conducted our strategy audit. Adam and John and I have a framework for how organizations, best-of-breed organizations, use their investment in Omniture, Web Trends, Unica, IBM Core Metrics, Google Analytics, you name it, to create business value. And so we subjected them to this audit. It's not super painful. It involves a series of interviews with stakeholders to understand what value do you get out and what are you trying to do. And so I sat down and said, let's see what we have here. This is what I found. The Hindenburg. Only it was worse. This is just the most clean slide that I could find that demonstrated the fact that this company was spending millions of dollars on technology and staff every year in a recurring revenue model for their vendor and getting not, excuse me, squat out of it. Try to keep it clean here. They were not getting squat out of it. And so I said, I have the recipe for your success. Let me translate the audit into a framework, and it is going to be hard work, right? This is not a snap your fingers. This is not something that happens overnight. Doing web analytics is not easy, no matter what the vendors or consultants tell you. But this is the thing that transforms your use of Hadoop and IBM and Unica and all of these wonderful technologies into profitability and shareholder value. So I walked her through roughly what this would look like. And do you know what she did? Anybody got a sense? You saw the slide. She freaked out. Totally freaked out. You're wrong, so wrong. We're not going to do the hard work. I'll never get the organization to sign up for that. I'll never get the organization to sign up for the amount of work that it takes to be truly successful with a digital analytics practice. And so she sent me packing and said this, instead, I will make dashboards. Instead of investing in a strategy for digital measurement and the success for this multi-million-dollar spend on analytics, she will make dashboards. And I thought, that's great. And I know how it turns out. Just like this. Dashboards are not going to help this organization. Reports are not going to help this organization. But, like any good consultant, I say I cannot help you here. So away I flew, and that's what I did. And that's where we left it. Until about 3 weeks ago, she called my partners and I up, and she said, hey, you know what? we've got to entirely re-platform. We have got no value out of our investment in analytics. We've had to turn off more than we turned on. We are nowhere after 3 years of intense investment in doing this. Now we need your help. So I'm going to fly back in, and maybe I'll see you here next year. I'm not super hopeful about how this turns out, but I'm a consultant, and so that's what we do. So dashboards are not a strategy for success in web analytics. And when I say dashboards today, I mean dashboards and reports, right? The Excel spreadsheets you're getting from people, the PDF documents, the pretty dashboards. It is not a strategy for success. It is a component of a strategy for success, and sometimes we forget that. I've worked in the past for WebTrends Corporation, for Visual Sciences Corporation, Website Story down in San Diego. I think all of that is now owned by the Omniture Corporation, which is owned by the Adobe Corporation. As technology vendors, we want to try to convince you that you can be successful with technology alone, and that is not the case in any way, shape, or form that I have ever seen. Dashboards are a means to an end, right? Dashboards are a means to the end. The goal in digital measurement and web analytics is not delivering reports to the stakeholders, although we act like that, right? I've just got to get through Monday. I've got to deliver my reports, and then I can go and relax and drink a beer or watch the NCAA. But that's not the goal. The goal is to leverage that data in tandem with business acumen, right? The work that we all do, the knowledge that we bring to the sector that we're in, and the jobs that we have to accelerate business value, the creation of business shareholder and customer value, right? That's the goal. It's not pushing out spreadsheets. It's about creating value. You can never forget that. If you only remember one thing about this presentation, other than Twitalizer is down, don't forget, it's about creating business value, not pushing out reports. So you gotta ask yourself, do your dashboards fail you? Is your reporting strategy that you have today failing you? And ask yourself this honestly, right? Ask yourself, what is the last action that a report or a spreadsheet or a dashboard, no matter how pretty, prompted you to take that generated substantial incremental revenue for the business? Right? When did somebody walk into the room and say, here, there's the answer on a single sheet of paper, and you translated that into something that delivered value all the way up the food chain and out to your shareholders? If you don't have an answer, you are not alone, because most people and most companies don't have an answer. Dashboards do not deliver that value. So if that's the case, your dashboard strategy may be failing you. So let's talk for a minute about why dashboard strategies fail. First problem, good dashboards become eye candy, and candy is bad for you. Funny story, first time I gave this presentation, I gave it at Turner in Atlanta. And when you show a picture of Anderson Cooper at Turner, everybody applauds. They go, oh, we love Anderson so much. Second funny story, do not go to Google Images and search for eye candy without the adult filter turned on. I've got a daughter at home and my eyes just about exploded. That's horrible. Dashboards can become eye candy, right? Well, there's the blank slide, okay. So we do some really brilliant dashboards, right? Best Buy is a client of ours. This is an example. Obviously the numbers are all mocked in there. You want something that executives can read and understand, and they will adopt, and they will carry around the company, but you cannot just create eye candy. There has to be something tangible and meaningful behind that. So you have to create something beautiful. If you just send them spreadsheets, they're going to tune out. We all know that. But you cannot stop here, because dashboards, there's that risk, right? Oh yeah, we looked at that, it's pretty. Right? There were some red arrows and some green arrows, and you're not getting it. That is not creating business value. Bad dashboards can become Excel hell, and it turns out that hell is bad for you as well. Does any of this look familiar? Anyone in the room? Anyone in the room play with some spreadsheets? Come on, put your hands up, people, be honest. Come on, I know, it's the analytics conference, we all do spreadsheets. Or this is Adobe's Report Builder product. I was part of the team at Website Story that helped develop this. This is a great product for creating spreadsheets. Of course, spreadsheets have a tendency to become eye candy, and they can deliver you into Excel hell, which is bad for you. You don't want to get so tied up into the spreadsheets. Dashboards and spreadsheet creation waste time, and time is money. One of the things that we encourage our clients to do is to sit down and calculate the actual staff and salary or contractor cost associated with all of the spreadsheets that they create and distribute across the enterprise for digital analytics and optimization, and it usually brings people to tears, because they realize that they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars just to create Excel spreadsheets and pretty dashboards, and they're not creating that business value that I talked about. So do that when you go back, or when you're driving home in traffic this afternoon? Calculate that out. Say, how many people spend all of money building spreadsheets? How much do we pay those people? And what value do we get back out of that? Hopefully you're not surprised. Analyst salaries continue to creep higher and higher, right? So that's something that you have to factor in. And dashboards take your eye off the real prize. And of course, the real prize is sacks and sacks of money. That's what we're trying to get to. We do not do analytics for analytics' sake. We do not generate reports for reports' sake. We do this to optimize our experiences online and off and to try to maximize shareholder value. So the real prize is not better reports or awesome looking dashboards. Nobody ever won a reward for sexiest dashboard ever. And if they have, that reward should be taken back and crushed under our heels. The real prize is information, insights, recommendations that lead to value. Business value, shareholder value, and customer value. So if you lose sight on this, you pay the price, right? If you lose sight, if you focus your resources on dashboards and report creation, you're going to lose the ability to generate tangible and valuable business output, right? Eventually, the organization notices. Eventually, you have an analyst title, but you are known for being a report specialist. And there's nothing worse, right? Report specialists should be paid $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. Analysts are earning $100,000, $110,000, $120,000, probably here in the Silicon Valley, $150,000, right? That's a big difference. You want to be an analyst and do analysis. And when you're an analyst and you push out reports, you eventually lose credibility. And that's a huge loss. When you lose credibility, in my experience, it erodes trust, right? When you do nothing more than push out spreadsheets and deliver dashboards, the organization stops trusting you. They start to focus on the little things. Oh, you said 227,811, but we know it was 227,812. You're off by 1, so we don't believe the data. And this happens every day in web analytics. We try to reconcile amateur numbers against our systems of record, and it cannot be done. The notion of accuracy in this sector is boondoggle at best. We don't even know how inaccurate web data is. So we try to turn a blind eye. We look the other way, and we're pretending that do not track is not going to happen, and do not track is going to happen in some form, and that will further erode the data quality, which has the potential to erode trust. Now, all of this goes wrong. You lose people, right? They go to other jobs simply because you try to substitute dashboards for strategy. Horrible idea. So what can you do, right? Because it's not as if we're going to stop marketing on the internet. It's not as if we're going to not measure, or invest in mobile and social, and the next big thing that comes down the pipe, we're all going to run into that as marketers and merchandisers and business owners, as if it were the next really big thing, regardless of how badly podcasting turned out for us. Who made that mistake? Who made the podcasting mistake? Anyone? You don't want to admit it, but we know that it's happened. And it's not as if you can stop doing analytics, right? So what do? You get a real strategy for this, right? You take a step back and say, how do we stop delivering reports and dashboards? And how do we deliver value? So what does a strategy look like? First off, a strategy for analytics is intentional, right? It's derived from high-level organizational goals. High-level organizational goals do not include be able to measure page views, be able to measure clicks from banner ad campaigns. Those are not goals. Right? Those are not goals. Good goals are develop a global competency to analyze digital audience and mine for emerging opportunities, right? To have a competency and a capability. Those are good goals for digital measurement strategy. Good goals are establish an internal capability for testing and personalization, driven as much by analytical insights as by our own internal experience and gut feel. These are goals for the setup and creation and instantiation of a digital analytics practice and a strategy, not generate reports or measure traffic. So how do you get started? 4 things that we recommend. Resetting expectations regarding output, revisiting your use of people, process, and technology, finding the data dogs, and learning to trust, again, in the analytics team. So analytical output, this is something that I call the hierarchy of analytical needs, shamelessly ripped off from Maslow. What this says is that as you increase along the hierarchy, as you move up vertically, you increase the value of the outputs of the organization. The base of the pyramid is wide because you have tremendous volumes of data. We all have more data today than we had for the last 10 years. I forget the Eric Schmidt quote, but there is so much data pouring off of our phones and our social networks and our websites and everything we do. But the data does not create value. It's important to keep in mind that as you try to create value, it involves effort, sometimes tremendous effort. And effort is people and process and technology. Most businesses get only data. right? Most businesses stop here, and this is the dashboard-centric strategy. This is where you're walking into a room and saying, I've got spreadsheets that tell us what to do, and that will not help your business. Businesses need information and insights. The differences between data, information, and insights is simple. Data is raw data. Information is data put into context. I don't care if you had 1 million page views. I care that you had 1 million page views and that was up 70% from the previous day, or for poor Twitterlizer, up 7,000% from last week, to the detriment of our web servers. The insight is, why is that happening? And in our case, it's because the New York Times and USA Today and Politico and Silicon Alley Insider and a whole bunch of other sources suddenly said, hey, everybody go to Twitterlizer and check out your scores, right? So now we have context. What went wrong? And of course, the PR people say, nothing went wrong, it's great. And I say, no, the web servers are down. But really what we need are recommendations. And you need recommendations. Now, the recommendation to me was to have more web servers in the server farm, and it's too late for that. But those recommendations are what is critical and create value for businesses. And when you trust your analytic organization, or when you are trusted as analysts, that's when the real fun work begins. That's when you can have a material impact on your organization and not just be churning out spreadsheets and reports and dashboards. So it's people, process, and technology in equal measures. This is an age-old story. I've been telling this story for years now, and I certainly heard it from the greats like Tom Davenport and others, but people, process, and technology, not just technology. I love Hadoop. We're implementing it with one of our clients. It's absolutely a phenomenal piece of technology, and it is not going to solve their business problems unless we implement people and process. So people, right? The criticality of people has been long recognized. We were slow to get this in the web analytics space. We thought that we could just do it with reports and spreadsheets. But collectively, we still have a long way to go. It's very hard to hire people with experience in digital analytics. The talent is very expensive, and the talent can be very, very fickle. We've entered into a situation where good web analysts will come in and they will interview the company. They're not being interviewed, they're asking you, how will you use my skills? How will I be able to succeed within your organization? And when they sniff any scent of, we don't actually have a strategy, we don't know what we're doing, they just walk away and say, don't call me. Because there are a lot of other jobs out there. It's a very strange situation to be in. But you cannot not have people, because the difference between people and not doing digital analytics is the difference between success and absolute miserable failure, every single time. The process, Megan Burns, a Forrester analyst, commented to me years ago when I started talking about process. She said the process is a 4-letter word, Eric, right? Nobody wants to implement process because it slows down innovation, which is probably true. It's probably true in a macro scale. People hate process, and I get that, but the problem is that when you're trying to take a 7-figure spend on Adobe's Omniture product, or the WebTrends product, or Coremetrics, IBM, any of these technologies, and translate that into material business value, and you try to do that in the absence of process, you'll fail. I see it every single time. I've actually never seen a company succeed in an ongoing way, right, with repeatable results, unless they have that process put in. So you have to do it. And of course the technology is a must, right? Technology is great. I don't know how many of you have seen the visual sciences, it's called Adobe Insights now. It's a brilliant, brilliant front end for big data sets used by lots of companies around the world. I love technology, but if you're not committed to people and process, you might as well just be grabbing log files, and that doesn't work good either. The technology is important, but it is more important how you put that technology to use within your organization. So it's people, process, and technology. This is a market maturity spectrum that I created when I worked at Jupiter Research back in 2004, 2005, and it really hasn't changed. What it says is that that big bell curve in the middle are companies, the vast majority of companies out there today are only taking moderate advantage of their investment in digital analytics. Now the good news is that that's probably only maybe $300 or $400 million of wasted spend, but I don't know if that's really good news. The real analytic competitors have crossed the staffing chasm and started crossing the action chasm. These are the eBays we heard from earlier. Yahoo does a great job of this. Marriott does a great job of this. Our clients at Best Buy and Dell do a great job of this, but it involves a lot of work and a lot of consideration to cross these chasms, to cross these hurdles, and to really be strategic in your use of web analytics and digital measurement within the enterprise. So one more thing, and I've always wanted to do a one more thing slide here in Silicon Valley. I know we're not in Cupertino, but I couldn't resist. As we conduct our research, we realize that there is a true advantage in something that we call the data dog, and we only call them data dogs because they call themselves the data dogs. There is a CEO and a senior vice president within the enterprise who loves data the way my Labrador loves Chewies and having my 7-year-old daughter rub his tummy and stuff like that. These people get it, and they absolutely understand how to create successful analytical organizations around them. I'm bummed that I'm not going to get to hear the gentleman from the Giants speak because especially in baseball and sports leagues, there are real analytical executives who are calling the shots and saying, let's make decisions a different way. But there are those same people within retail and within B2B and traditional digital sectors and multi-channel sectors. And if you are lucky enough to work for a Datadog and you are an analyst, you are going to succeed in a way that a friend or a neighbor who doesn't work for that Datadog will never succeed. The Datadog, these are the analytically minded leaders, right? They hunger for this information and they want the data. They will look at the spreadsheets with you, but they understand the value of getting information, insights, and true recommendations. And they'll sign up for that. They'll say, stop just sending me data. Start sending me recommendations. Start giving me something that I can action, that I can take down to the vice presidency, and that we can put into practice. And they get it. And it's not an uphill battle. I used to have a slide of Sisyphus rolling the boulder uphill, because that's how a lot of people in web analytics felt. But when you work for a Datadog, you almost never end up feeling that way. You do end up feeling strained because you have to continually answer more questions. Did you look at this? Did you look at that? But that's a good thing if you're an analyst. That's a great thing to be challenged, to do more with the data and information that we have. The best thing about Datadogs that I found is that they trust their resources. They trust the analyst and the organization underneath them, and trust is critical in web analytics. Trust in technology, trust in process and people, trust that leadership will leverage that great output. And it's very, very common, again, when that trust goes away, these investments you're making in technologies simply become wasted investments. People don't action the data anymore. They don't listen to the recommendations because they simply don't believe that the work that has been done is good work, or they don't believe the data source, or something. Something goes wrong when that trust goes out the window. So with that gone, there's little you can do. People call me and they say, look, my leadership team doesn't trust the work that I do. And I typically say, there's a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of great companies out there who are hiring, and they're always hiring. And you have to consider that. If you're an analyst in an organization, and if you don't have that trust, it's going to be very hard to do what you do. And so I'm running out of time, although I managed to deliver that presentation in record time. I'll have a little time for questions, but I want to leave you with a couple things. The first is that this presentation is based on a white paper that I did for the IBM Corporation and Core Metrics called Dashboards Are Not a Strategy. In that white paper, which is freely available, I think you have to give Core Metrics some personal information, but you can give mine if you want. They don't call me. There is a 37-point checklist that you can go through and answer yes, no, or maybe. And based on that, you can get a sense of how likely are you to succeed? How good a job are you doing with your investment in analytics broadly and digital analytics specifically? So I would encourage you to go and grab that white paper and run yourself through the test. For most people, it's quite eye-opening, and we've never actually, I think out of the 30-odd points, we've never found anybody who will honestly score better than a 20. Although we do know companies who do up into the 30s and high 20s. So some parting thoughts. Hopefully this was informative and not too boring and not too different. Hopefully you aren't relying on dashboards to deliver reporting and to deliver value out of your web analytics investment. Hopefully you've got more behind it than just dashboards and just reports. Hopefully if you do only have a dashboard-driven strategy, hopefully that will stop soon. Hopefully that I've helped convince you at least a little bit that clear strategy involves people, process, and technology. Not just technology, not just people and process. A smile for the camera. Is that good? Yep. Good. Do it one more time. I'm going to be on MSNBC tomorrow with this totalizer disaster. My wife's like, you're going to be on TV? That's screwed up. I agree. 11:45 Pacific. Hopefully you have, or if you are leadership, hopefully you are a Datadog and you value what all of this can do, right? It's easy to say that at a conference that's all about analytics, but I give this presentation at shop.org and places where not everybody is analytically minded, but hopefully you have that relationship, you have that Datadog that will make you successful within the business. And since I left a little bit of time, hopefully some of you have questions. Here's my contact information, so one hand shoot up right away. Thank you very much.